Thank you guys for being here. I think I have a very interesting message to convey, and I hope that I do a really good job, because sometimes interesting messages are also very tough to grasp and understand. And to be honest, as a company, we've really tried to get this point across so many times. And I think for the first time ever, I'm quite confident that I can do it today. So my name is Chris. People call me Chris, but my name is Christian. And I'm the CEO and co-founder of TAP, the Talent Acceleration Platform. And I need a clicker. Here we go. All right. So there's two ladies in the screen, Noor and Manar. And we hired Noor and Manar about 4 years ago. And we were never expecting to hire them, and I'll explain why in a second. But they became very important team members in our ops team and in our client success team. And they changed the way that we think about our company. And they changed it the way I think my impact is as a founder. And they changed ultimately how much commitment we have as individuals and how much we love our work. And I'll walk you through the story of Manar and Noor's journey within the company, and I hope I can paint an interesting picture about what they did. But before we go there, I want to talk to you guys about the evolution of impact. Impact is very present right now. Everyone that is building something that is supposed to be the company of the future should be solving some kind of problem that we are facing right now. Problems are getting closer and closer. We're starting to see, geopolitical issues, deforestation, and just, in some places the world is burning, like Australia's wildfires were insane. And if we look at this chart, what we can see is that the impact as humanity, we've been realizing that we have to make a difference. And over time, the impact has gone from a more macro perspective to a more micro perspective. So the macro topics, for example, abolition of slavery or conservation movements, civil rights acts, and then all the way to today, where we as individuals are building companies that are supposed to solve the problems of the future. And if we're not, we're perhaps not looking at the whole pie, or perhaps, obviously there's for-profit companies and then the social impact companies. But I do claim that there's a lot of value in fixing problems such as climate change, etc. But I want to ask you guys real quick, in your view, what is the biggest problem humanity faces today? And if anybody wants to raise their hand and just share it with the group. Please? Yes? Climate change, yes. What about anybody else? Population growth? Yes. Or movement? I would say growth. Okay, interesting. It's also, there's a lot of movement issues right now. For example, Pakistan is getting really, really warm, and within the next 30 years, maybe 10 to 20 million people will have to emigrate out of Pakistan. Somebody else? Populism, okay. People see that there's two extremes, right? And there's an extreme that is looking one way, then the extreme looks at things the very different way, and the gap is just growing, right? Somebody else said something over there?
Loneliness.
Loneliness?
Yeah.
Yes. We feel more lonely. We are more attached to our phones than to other human beings, right? So all these problems seem very different one from the other, right? We have maybe issues on deforestation on one end, loneliness on the other one. But I would say the two things that all these issues have in common are that they need to be solved by humans. We have to get on this mindset to solve these problems, and they are not unique to us in this room. Sometimes we feel that because we belong to this community, we are in this room, we belong to a certain group of people, that's the only perspective that matters. But to encompass everyone else's point of view actually is the right way of looking at problems. So the other bit is that the problems are not unique to us in this room, they're actually affecting everyone. And this brings me to the idea of solving problems collectively. On the left side, on the right side, on the left side is your perspective of a problem. So you and your collective of friends, family, colleagues, etc., you have a perspective and you look at a problem from one angle. And there's the opposite perspective, or maybe the complementary perspective. And that's how everyone else looks at the problem. Now, the problem space is typically huge. You have a problem space that in startup terms equals opportunity that is massive. But you are only seeing it from one side. Now your side might be, it may be that the perspective you have already is quite big and it encompasses quite a lot of the problem, but it might be that you don't. And I want to give you guys an example of how Manar and Noor gave us that perspective, that complementary perspective. TAP was founded in Palestine about 4 years ago. And we were never thinking about moving into Gaza. We thought for us, Gaza is a bit too far into the impact we want to make. We don't want to maybe operate there yet because it's not time for us. But then Noor applied for a job. And we could not, in the interview, we could not avoid the fact that she was so smart, so driven, so ambitious, that we gave her the opportunity to join TAP despite the fact that we were not planning to be in Gaza. And about a month later, she brought her friend, Manar, actually her best friend, Manar. And she said, this lady is also very ambitious, very driven, and I want her to also join TAP. I know there's another opportunity that's open in the company. So she joined TAP as well. So Manar and Noor then joined TAP. And now we have these two ladies in Gaza who start building a community. And on their own, and without much direction from our side, they create a community. They start onboarding more and more women. They start giving us an understanding that we were not ready or maybe interested in at some point. And all of a sudden, our population of Gaza and tappers grows from 0 to 25% of the overall community of individuals that we were actually helping get to jobs. And that made us understand something we didn't understand. If you think about bridging a job, like the gap between somebody who's underserved and a job, there's obviously all kinds of bridges you can build, right? But the largest bridge you can cross is Berlin startup hires Gaza and woman remotely. And when we learned how to cross that bridge, we felt so much more confident about what we were doing that we started thinking, okay, this can be done everywhere. And with Manar and Noor, we learned the formula that allowed us to place over 200 tappers in the next 18 months. We then raised 6 million euros from venture capital and governments to then expand to Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, and other countries coming soon. Our share of women went from 40% to 60%, because if you're a woman and you're building operations and such things within a company, you're going to make sure they attract women. And then October 7th happened. And everything we had built until that point felt like it was crashed. And all our dreams and ideas of what we could do in Gaza one day were gone. And that felt obviously quite disheartening. And I cannot even tell you how much the team suffered internally, because we saw our friends living in tents, our colleagues having to run away from bombs and things. So, yeah, to be honest, for the longest time we were quite heartbroken and just couldn't feel like, we felt like everything was gone. But then we got a call about 2 weeks ago to participate in a meeting in The Hague. And we were meeting with some people from Brussels, politicians and government officials. It was a very interesting meeting. And in that meeting they told us, guys, you have learned how to do this, and you're going to teach us, and you're going to do that for us and for this community. And you're going to help us rebuild Gaza. You're going to help us rebuild youth and empower youth in Gaza. And after that meeting, we understood that despite the fact that all this that we had worked for was taken away from us, we still had the power inside of ourselves, the perspective to do the change that we were asked to do in The Hague. A bit about TAP and how we came about this idea. About 4 years ago, I was building a data analytics company, and I was in Amsterdam. I'm based in Amsterdam. We're fully remote. And we wanted to start a tech team, and the tech team was nowhere to be found. It was super expensive. We were going to be broke after launching the MVP, so we thought, well, where can we do this from? And a buddy of mine from the MBA was actually starting a IT company in Palestine, and we went and we talked to them, and we said, we want to actually onboard you guys to the company, to Opine, and we had to build this bridge to get these guys in Palestine to actually be able to work in our environment in Opine, which was very different culturally, processes, tools, and so on. So then we would build the bridge, and we were like, oh my God, this bridge actually has so much more value than Opine itself. So we thought, what if we just use this bridge to allow other companies to do exactly what we did with Opine, which is just bridge between these individuals and the jobs. And that's when Tap came up as its own idea. And we made it into a socially impactful and scalable company that today has placed over 200 people, and where we are 28 people in the company working full-time, of which 14 are tappers. So we actually hire our own product, our own individuals, and they're now building the company for their own peers, friends, family. And this effort, this community is just growing day in and day out. And now that we have identified how the perspective of Noor and Manar maybe changed mine, I want to explain to you how you can change yours. How can you make your perspective more broad, more interesting, more valuable. And I think here at Running Remote, we have a huge, huge opportunity to make a difference. There's no boundaries, there's no geopolitical dilemmas. We have really the most unique opportunity to empower people. And I want to give you an example of why work. I live in the Netherlands for 7 years. For anybody who knows anything about Dutch people, is that they're not very expat friendly. And I have been there for 7 years, and my only friend in the Netherlands is my colleague Roland, who's here somewhere in the back. And if it wouldn't be for work, you would not be meeting all these people who are actually not part of your circles, not part of your family, etc. Work allows us to connect with people we would have never, ever otherwise connected. And that's the power of work, because when we work with people, you can actually start understanding who they are, understanding their perspectives, and eventually changing your own. And I used to say, oh yeah, hiring people from underserved communities is a privilege, therefore it's a responsibility. But over time, I realized that it's neither. It's actually a gift. Being able to work with somebody who can teach you so much and help you understand the reality so differently than your own is a gift. And just like Slavena hired Sufan, she knew about TAP from a connection, and she said, I think what TAP is doing is fantastic. I believe in the human side of this. Let me try to hire a tapper. Then she went to talk to her co-founders and said, hey, we're kind of remote already. I heard about this company connecting people from underserved communities to jobs. Let's do it. It took her a while to come back and to convince the co-founders, but she did. And then she hired Abdullah Sufan. And then these guys built this amazing startup. They just raised 4 million euros, Sufan being the third or the fourth team member to be hired in the company. And I see this story repeating itself over and over and again, to the extent that I now see a cycle. And the cycle starts with intention. The intention to do something different, to do something that feels human, and obviously that intention then gets you to the action, convincing your team to say, yes, this makes sense, let's give it a shot, etc., which then starts the cycle. You start getting the perspective of these other individuals who start joining your companies. You then start seeing the full spectrum of opportunities. Then your own team starts believing in your mission, because now this mission actually includes the impact potential that the other guys see, that Sufan sees through his own eyes with what he could do in his own community. And then the culture of purpose starts. And then you change perspectives, opportunities get bigger, you start believing more in your mission, culture as a purpose as a part of your culture gets bigger, and then you keep changing your perspective. And that radically transforms the lives of your team. So far, we have been having about 95% of companies saying that then when an open position comes by, they will rehire tappers, and 70% of companies have already rehired a tapper. You can be part of the story, and you can either meet us at our booth here on the second floor. You can hire a tapper. We have made a deal with the Dutch government and the Swiss government that they're sponsoring the first 3 months of salaries for them. So your cost is absolutely zero, plus the 3 months that you get sponsored by the Dutch government or the Swiss government. And we just launched a campaign called Palestine's Future to connect 1,000 youth with 1,000 professionals. And we have 750 already signed up, of which 50 are coming from Running Remote. So thank you. And you can follow us for a lot of more life-changing stories on this QR code on our LinkedIn website. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And
for Christian! And Christian, we're going to do some Q&A now, if that's all right with you guys. We got questions coming in. First question I just got, just while people gather themselves here. So over at Tap Careers, are there any jobs available right now?
Yes, but they're all being filled by tappers, actually, lately. So that's, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But what types of jobs might tappers be fulfilling right now?
All kinds. So we are domain agnostic. So we just accelerate their careers so they can come from a business background or a digital marketing background or software, and that's what we focus on. So we're intending to build the full spectrum of jobs.
Very nice, very nice. Guys, now's an opportunity. We got a microphone right here, so we're going to run this up. Just raise your hand. Does anyone have a question here for Christian? Let's get the Q&A moving, guys. Don't be shy. Come on down here, microphone. Don't be shy. There we go. Who wants to raise their hand and ask a question? All right, there we are. No, there we are. Thank you very much. Question here at the front. Go ahead.
Excellent. I mean, I really applaud the vision that you hold. And that leads me to my question, is that in 3 to 5 years, where do you really envision TAP?
Thank you. So we believe that if we build enough opportunity in these places locally, what's going to happen naturally is that these guys are going to become entrepreneurs, right? So the theory of change, or the way we see the world working after TAP, is that we've built a community of 5,000, 10,000 individuals working at all these AI companies, and then they will identify opportunities locally, and they will say, I want to build my company that does this. And that closes the cycle because these guys will need talent. They will be able to raise capital, and then they will start hiring people locally. And that's when you build the ecosystem. So that's the idea that we want to build. We want to be able to enable ecosystems of entrepreneurship where they don't exist right now.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for that question. Anyone else want to raise their hand, ask a question for Christian? Don't be shy. Microphone right here. There you go. Thank you. Go ahead. What's your question for Christian?
Hi, thank you. It's very inspiring. I'd love to know what's the process if I want to hire a tapper.
Great, very simple. You talk to that guy in the back? No. Also, but it's very simple. You just, when we initiate contact with the client, we have a 20-minute call where we understand what you need. Based on that call, we send you 5 profiles, and off you go. You can book meetings with them and so on. And then we help you, obviously, through the whole steps. If you want to hire remotely out of Palestine or Lebanon or Jordan, and you don't have support like remote.com or one of these guys, and we can enable that stuff. We also have our own solution, so you can also hire that way. And then we walk you through the whole process. We'll have coaches and mentors. So the coaches and the mentors who are coaching the individuals then also support you in the process when and if needed.
So is there a whole onboarding process? Yeah, just while the microphone goes there, yeah?
Yeah, so there is a whole onboarding process from a human perspective to ensure that the bridge is built, right?
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Very nice. All right, everybody. One last question here. Do we still have time here? Real quick. Thank you. Anyone want to raise their hand, ask Christian a question? Don't be shy. Looks as though we have... Oh, we got one right behind me. I see that's what's happening. They're pointing this way. Okay, great. Look at this. Jay in the mix. Of course, Jay says, great idea. That's no doubt. I'd love to learn more about how to get the team to rally behind a vision. In your experience, how do you get a team to rally behind a vision?
I mean, I had 3 years of corporate, and I just saw these guys struggling so much, trying to tell us why we should care about whatever they were doing. And I think the only way you can actually rally people around a vision is to have a vision that matters. I don't think you can ever build a company where people care about what you're doing unless you either motivate them extrinsically or intrinsically, right? And extrinsic motivation is something you can do with money and equity sometimes. It works, obviously, but I think it's intrinsic is the one that is much more interesting. So, yeah, you build your company either around an idea that is very interesting already from an intrinsic point of view, or you enable it in the way I explained today.